And we are back after a 2-week break with the return of the Premier League predictions. And what a 2 weeks it's been. We've had FA Cup drama. Shout out to Cambridge and Nottingham Forest for their big upsets against Premier League teams. Shout out to Kidderminster and Boreham Wood for making the fourth round of the FA Cup from the non-league. A thoroughly entertaining FA Cup weekend, as it always is whenever the FA Cup comes around. We've had the African Cup of Nations, which has been completely full of drama. We've had 97th minute penalties. We've had games running until the 108th minute. We've had games stopping in the 85th minute. We've had the Sierra Leone goalkeeper turning almost literally into a cat, flying around his goal, making wonder save after wonder save. Honestly, if you're someone that works from home and can have something on in the background, stick the African Cup of Nations on because it's been thoroughly entertaining. And of course, we've had the Carabao Cup semi-finals. Chelsea very, very comfortable over the two legs against Tottenham, prompting Antonio Conte to say that his Tottenham team are way, way behind the current Chelsea team. So read into that what you will. I'm sure that's a message to Daniel Levy to get his notebook out. And speaking of notebooks, did I mention that the transfer window is open? And we've already had some really bizarre signings. Coutinho signing for Aston Villa. What a massive deal that could end up being for them if he's still got that quality in there, which I'm pretty sure he does. Digne as well, obviously signing for them. Newcastle's new regime has started with the signings of Kieran Trippier and buying out the contract of Chris Wood. And, well, for myself as a Manchester United fan, we keep getting linked with arguably, certainly on paper, the best statistically found holding midfielder in world football right now, and he's available for 5 million, and for some reason we're not getting that done. Anyway, enough about what we've missed. The Premier League is back, and as you'll see on the screen where it says part 1, this is a double game week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the weekend fixtures as one video, and then on Tuesday I'll be back with part 2 where I will do the midweek fixtures for the teams that are playing twice. The reason I'm doing this is, I think for a fair reflection on a prediction, you need to have seen the previous game. It wouldn't be right for me to predict 2 fixtures for the same teams where anything could happen in that first fixture, like injuries, suspensions and whatever. So we're going to use the usual format. We're going to run through Game Week 20's results, and then we're just going to do part 1 for Game Week 21. Drop a like if you are enjoying this series. Let's get into the results of Game Week 20. So these were the games. They feel like an absolute age ago, apart from those last 2, because obviously they were only a couple of days ago. And these were the results. Starting with Arsenal and Man City, and my word, what a game that was. Arsenal, of course, feeling very hard done by due to some controversial decisions, although I actually feel like the officials followed the rules correctly. So I don't think there should be cause for complaints. I think they're just upset that they didn't get the result they feel they deserved. A 2-1 win for Man City, which ends in a point for me. Watford and Tottenham was quite a slow and boring game. Tottenham ending up with the 1-0 win, I believe, from the penalty spot. So yeah, quite a drab game, and reflected really by how Tottenham then went and played in those 2 games against Chelsea and struggling against Morecambe in the FA Cup. So 1-0 win for Spurs, another point for me there. I would say I'm disappointed with the Crystal Palace West Ham result, as I predicted 2-2 and it ended up 3-2, but West Ham were winning 3-0 and it was a late comeback by Crystal Palace to even get it to 3-2. So West Ham were pretty comfortable overall, so no points for me there, and a good win for West Ham. Brentford and Aston Villa was a game that went very much against the run of play. Aston Villa took the early lead with a great goal from Danny Ings, and Brentford really with a couple of snatch and grabs to get those 2 goals that they got, and resulted in a good win for them, and fair play to them. Another no points for me there. Everton and Brighton, well, If any of my mates are watching, they'll know how much annoyance I have over this. I made a couple of fantasy football changes since Everton had a double game week. Put in Pickford and Calvert-Lewin, and as you can see, Brighton scored 3 goals. Not only that, Calvert-Lewin on his return missed a penalty, and then the second Everton game was called off. So that went well for me. No points on the fantasy football, no points on the prediction. And once again, I failed to predict a Brighton fixture. But fair play to them to go into Goodison Park and getting that win. I mean, surely Rafa Benitez's time has got to be up soon. I'm not sure how long he can get away with getting these results the way he is. On to Leeds and Burnley. And I've had some sort of editing malfunction because they're both there. Because as you can see, we got that one absolutely spot on. I don't really think there's anything else I can say about that. When you get a prediction correct, you just take the 3 points and move on. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Chelsea and Liverpool. And again, my word, what a game this was. Arguably the most entertaining game of the season so far. We had the return of the Gary Neville goalgasm, as it were. And whatever noise he made when Mason Mount missed that chance right before half-time. A thoroughly entertaining game, a real advert for the Premier League. 2-2 overall, a return to form for Chelsea that's going to fill them with a lot of confidence. That combined with the results against Tottenham in the Carabao Cup semi-finals going into their big game this weekend. But then on to Man United, and as it always seems with us at the moment, it's 2 steps forward, 2 steps backwards. Because this was a really poor performance. They just didn't look creative enough. He made changes, obviously, for the FA Cup game against Aston Villa, which had some effect, but if we're honest, not a lot. Clearly, his shape isn't really working. This 4-2-2-2 went back to a 4-2-3-1 against Aston Villa, and I imagine he'll do the same this weekend. A lot of trouble. Shout out to Phil Jones, though, on his first game for Manchester United for over 2 years, put in an absolutely fantastic performance. Yes, you can argue he was at fault for the goal, but if he didn't play as well as he did, it would have been more than 1-0, trust me. Lots of work for Ralf Rangnick to do, and as I mentioned in the intro, best midfielder in the world right now for 5 million. Get it done. On to the midweek games, we had Southampton and Brentford. You wouldn't have seen this in the video, but the predictions for these 2 games I put in the comments of the previous video. Obviously, now we're going to move into this part 1, part 2, so that won't happen again. I went for 2-1 to Southampton, ended up 4-1. A fantastic performance for them, especially after Brentford's win against Aston Villa. Fair play to them, a fantastic 4-1 win and 1 point for me. And then West Ham and Norwich. We said they were comfortable against Crystal Palace, bar that late mini comeback, and they were more than comfortable against Norwich here. I thought it would be more than 2, but it was more just, the generic West Ham control. Their midfielders completely running the game, and 2 goals for Jarrod Bowen, who is being tipped for an England call-up and potentially a move higher up the division. I don't think he'd leave West Ham. I think he certainly deserves a chance in the England team on his current form. So well done to him. That gives us an overall game week score. Oh, there goes the Leeds Burnley fixture. Gives us an overall game week score of 7 and an overall season score of 128. Let me know in the comments how you are getting on, how you got on last week. And let's get in to game week 21, part 1. Starting with tonight's game, we have the Seagulls against the Eagles. Massive game. It's the closest thing these clubs have to a local derby. Really high intensity matches these always. And reminder to fantasy football fans, this game is tonight. It is a Friday night football, which means you need to get your fantasy footballs done today. Tough one to call. Really tough one to call. Like I say, it's the closest thing these two have to a derby. So form goes out the window. It gets really competitive. And not only that, both of these teams' most important players, in my opinion, are all away at the African Cup of Nations. Zaha and Kouyaté, big parts of Crystal Palace's team, they're not there. They are there at AFCON. And Yves Bissouma, the most important part of Brighton's midfield, also at AFCON. So it's a bit of a free-for-all. I was tempted to put this as the 2-2 for this week. However, I'm just going to edit to Brighton as they are the home team. And I'm going to go for a 2-1 Brighton win. And speaking of 2-1s, that is what I'm going to go for the massive game on Saturday lunchtime. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Manchester City. Again, a tough one to call, so you really just have to go on current form. And right now, City look absolutely imperious. They are winning every game pretty comfortably. But as we just said, Chelsea have had a little resurgence. They're going to have their confidence back. Lukaku's fit again. Could he cause damage to the likes of Ruben Diaz and Laporte? I'm not so sure. But I can certainly see Chelsea nicking a goal, and that's why I've given them the 1. But overall, I fully expect Man City to get this job done. Chelsea do need something if they're going to stay in this title race. Is it even a title race anymore? Have City already wrapped it up? I feel if they win this game, they probably already have. So, for the sake of entertainment, good luck to Chelsea, but I'm going to go for that Man City win. Moving on to the 3 o'clocks, we start with Burnley and Leicester, and oh boy, are Burnley in trouble. Already in the relegation zone. Yes, they do have several games in hand. However, they've just lost their best player to relegation rivals Newcastle. 25 million buyout for Chris Wood. You can make your own mind up about whether or not that's a fair price for Chris Wood. Personally, I think that's a fantastic signing for Newcastle. It's a bigger loss to Burnley as it is a gain for Newcastle, though. Burnley already really struggle for goals, and Chris Wood was pretty much their only source of goals so far this season, and certainly last season as well. So with that in mind, going into this fixture, I'm going to put a big fat 0 in the Burnley column, and I'm going to go for a 3-0 Leicester win. Yes, Leicester do not have any recognised strikers available to them. Vardy and Daka are both out for at least 2 months, and Iheanacho is at the African Cup of Nations. But I'm sure they'll play someone like Harvey Barnes or Ademola Lookman up front, who have both had experience in that position, or Ayoze Perez. They have options available up front, and I think they'll have more than enough quality to break down Burnley's defence and get the job done. 3-0 Leicester. On to Chris Wood's new club, Newcastle United, and it is expected that Chris Wood will be available, and I think that'll be necessary because Callum Wilson looks like he's still going to be out for a little while, and I don't feel St Maximin is the sort of player that runs the line on his own. They come up against Watford, who have managed to keep a hold of their AFCON players, very controversially. There's been big complaints from Nigeria and Senegal regarding Ismaila Sarr and Emmanuel Dennis. But at the end of the day, Watford have stood their ground and said they need these players to keep themselves up. This is a massive relegation game. Watford are the team currently sitting above the relegation zone, and Newcastle will have them firmly in their sights. And I think they'll get this job done as well. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Newcastle win. On to Norwich and Everton, and when we speak about teams in the relegation battle, there isn't one more prominent than Norwich. In desperate need of results, and I'll be honest, I just don't see it happening anytime soon. Yes, Everton have been struggling, but again, you look at the two teams. You look at Calvert-Lewin back in that Everton team. You look at the state of the Norwich squad, and I can only really go for a 2-0 Everton win here. That was the score when these two sides met in the earlier game. I think it was Gameweek 7 or something. And I don't see any other result here. For Norwich's sake, I wish them the best, but I just don't see it happening right now. They need to do some real business in January if they're going to survive, I think. 2-0 Everton. Wolves and Southampton. Very, very tricky one to call this, based on recent form. Wolves have been playing fantastically well. They're defensively solid. But at the same time, they don't create a lot of chances. It would be so easy to just go 1-0 Wolves again. They've had more 1-0s than any other team in the division so far this season. But I just have a little feeling that Southampton are going to nick one. Maybe it's because they scored 4 goals against Brentford, and I know Brentford are a completely different defensive style to Wolves, but I just have this slight inkling that Southampton are just going to nick a goal. So I'm actually going to go for 1-1 here. I definitely feel that Wolves are the better team overall. I think they should beat Southampton, but yeah, this is my prediction. I think 1-1. So we move on to Saturday evening. And Aston Villa and Manchester United meet once again. Not even 1 week removed, 5 days removed from the FA Cup tie. It looks like Digne will be available to start for Aston Villa. Coutinho should be available as well. However, he's not really played a lot for Barcelona over the last few weeks. He's also coming back from COVID. So I can't see him playing a big part in the game. And I think it would also be very harsh to Buendia, who's been on really good form. The assist against Brentford, and he was very, very good against Man United in the FA Cup game. So I think we'll see Buendia from the start and maybe Coutinho at some point in the second half. As for United, it looks like Ronaldo is struggling to be fit, so it's unlikely he's going to play. It's unlikely Darlow will play after the gash he suffered in the FA Cup game. My beloved Scott McTominay, he is suspended along with Luke Shaw. It looks like Maguire may be back, so make your own mind up whether or not that's a good thing. And it looks like Phil Jones could be back as well, so look out Aston Villa if he starts. With all that said, and with how the FA Cup tie went, even as a Man United fan, I'm going to give this one to Aston Villa. I'm going to go 2-1 to Aston Villa. I don't think we're going to have a chance in this game. Aston Villa played really, really well in that second half. Were unlucky not to get a goal. They won the reverse fixture at Old Trafford in the league, and they're going to be well up for this with the new signings. We're very depleted, and I just can't see us getting a result here. So I'm going to go for 2-1 to Aston Villa. On to Saturday. On to Sunday, and we start with Liverpool-Brentford. Anyone who watched the Carabao Cup semi-final last night will know that Liverpool certainly struggled without Salah and Mane. Was it because of Salah and Mane? I'm not so sure. I think it was more that Arsenal were down to 10 men and they sat their men back behind the ball, preventing Liverpool playing their usual long ball routine, and they packed the midfield to prevent the ball being swept up. Obviously, when these two sides met earlier in the season, we had that epic 3-3. Brentford clearly have the means of hurting Liverpool. However, at Anfield, you've still got to back Liverpool. I'm going to go for a 2-0. Maybe that's a bit unfair to Brentford, but it's the result you'd expect, and that's the way I'm going to predict it. Excited to see that one, though. I think it's going to be a fantastic game once again, but I'm going to go 2-0. West Ham and Leeds. Leeds are going to feel a little bit better after the way they played against Burnley, but of course they did play West Ham in the FA Cup last week and it didn't go particularly well for them, and I'm going to predict the exact same outcome here. I'm going to give West Ham more goals this time though. I'm going to go 3-0 West Ham. I think they're going to want to put their foot down. They're in a good race for Europe right now, and goal difference may come into it. So I'm going to back West Ham to get a few goals here, and I'm going to go for 3-0. And the final prediction of the weekend, the main event fixture, shall we say, certainly for Arsenal and Tottenham fans, it is the North London derby, where anything can happen, of course, but I still have to take into account the information that we have available regarding fitness of players. Heung-min Son out for Spurs is massive. However, they do have cover with the likes of Lucas Moura, Bergwijn, although it looks like he might be leaving. They have other players that can play in that position. Arsenal, however, are without Odegaard and Smith Rowe, meaning that they may have to do what they did last night, putting Lacazette in the attacking midfield position and Nketiah up front. They're definitely going to be weakened without that. I would have gone for 2-2, and I'm going to say this right here, right now. If it comes round to Sunday afternoon and Odegaard and/or Smith Rowe start, I will change my prediction for this, but I am going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win. If those players are available and do start, my prediction changes to 2-2. I think without that creative midfielder in that pocket, Arsenal really struggle. Granted, it only lasted a few minutes against Liverpool last night, but yeah, I think Spurs get the job done if Arsenal have that player missing in there. And that will conclude part 1 of my predictions for Game Week 21. As I said before, drop a like if you are enjoying this series. Let me know down in the comments what your predictions are for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I will be back on Tuesday morning for Game Week 21 part 2.